All right, welcome into the final installment of our DNVR Draft Day Live preview series. Getting into some of the deep cuts today, boys. But first, I want to talk about those guys who maybe just slip out of the first round. You know, the sad face green room boys.
Oh, yes.
Who, you know, everyone thinks they're a first rounder. Suddenly they slip out. Maybe you got to trade up to the early parts of the second round for them. Or maybe they do fall all the way to 41. Henry, I'll start with you. Who's a guy who you could see potentially falling out of the first round and being available early on day 2?
Let me start with my favorite player potentially in the entire draft, Najee Harris. He's just so explosive. The way that he jumps over people, the way he jumps around people, just such a fun football player to watch.
Yeah,
I know he's like the bounciest player in the league. It's incredible. He could be there at 41 just because people are averse to taking running backs, and there's been the shift in the valuation that you don't need to get into, the receiving backs versus the actual just tailbacks. And I think because of Najee's fit in there, he's probably more of a first-round guy. But from there, you look at, Trayvon Merrick, the safety from TCU. He's probably a late first-round pick. Very least, the Broncos could trade up, but he could be there at 41. Kwity Paye might be asking a lot for him to slip to 41, but he's another one. The defensive lineman from Michigan, just explosive, could be an option.
Yeah, getting him in the second round would be an underpay.
Would be an underpay.
Yikes. I think, a couple injury risks you could take. One is JAELAN PHILLIPS, the talented former top recruit out of UCLA, just recently coming off a spectacular season at Miami. Some real concussion concerns, but you never know. Caleb Farley, the talented cornerback out of West Virginia Tech, rather. He's got
West
some
Virginia
injury.
Tech.
Yeah, West Virginia
Is that
Tech.
in the MAC?
We're going to have to check out if there is a West Virginia Tech.
There's no
there
way.
might be.
There is no way.
So I think it really starts with those two guys. And I think, I think there's enough talent at offensive line where someone like a Samuel Cosme could drop to 41. That would give the Broncos maybe the two most athletic bookends in the league.
Interesting. Okay. With that in mind, how about the B-side guys? The late, anywhere. It's funny because sometimes you see these guys, you're like, I think you might have to get him in the third round. That guy ends up going undrafted.
Yeah.
Once you get out of the second round and on, these guys could go anywhere. Who are some of your favorite, as I call them, B-side guys?
I'm going to start with Talanoa Hufanga. He's been one of my favorite players to watch for
that
forever.
name together so much. People might not know where the first name ends and the last name begins.
Talanoa Hufanga.
There you go.
There you go. The safety from USC. It reminds me a lot of Troy Polamalu. Reminds everybody a lot of Troy Polamalu. First of all, he's a safety from USC, built the same way, has the hair, obviously like the Islander. On top of that, has been training with Troy Polamalu ever since the end of the season. The difference, Troy Polamalu, 4.3 40, 4.6 for Talanoa Hufanga, which is a big difference. And it is crazy, but Troy Polamalu, famously, very crazy player.
And good.
Very good.
Good.
That is what he and Talanoa Hufanga have in common, by the way.
Good
They're both
player.
really good. I think he's Pac-12 Defensive Player of the Year. He's just explosive. He's everywhere. Again, 4.6 40, you don't want him just playing the deep middle. Even cover 2, that kind of stuff does not work for him. You play him in the box, he's a playmaker. I think he had 4 picks. He had 2 forced fumbles, led the team in tackles. Actually, led the team in all of those categories. The Pac-12 champion USC Trojans, as much as that sucks to say. Very good player. I'm going to be pretty fired up, but he's probably round 4, round 5 type of guy at this point. Ooh, one more point. Justin Simmons, 4.6 40.
Wow. Certainly doesn't play like it.
No, he doesn't. Talanoa Hufanga, maybe a little.
Really quick, just because you talk so much about him, how do you see him fitting in the Broncos scheme?
He's the new Will Parks, and the better Will Parks. He's so explosive. He plays downhill. He hits so hard. One of the hardest hitters in the draft. Again, the ball skills. He gets the sacks. He does everything from that position, just so versatile. But is he a 3-down player? Maybe not.
And that's why he is going to go where?
4th, 5th.
Okay.
4th, 5th?
Yeah, sounds right.
Yeah.
Dre, you got a guy?
I've got a few. I really, really think Monty Rice out of Georgia, though, would be extraordinary. You can watch a lot of Georgia this year. This kid plays like a top 100 pick, doesn't have the raw talent to merit that kind of pick, But I mean, IQ off the charts, intensity of play, assignment, sound IQ. He's got everything aside from those raw tools. I think you get him somewhere in day 3, you're going to have a really solid NFL player.
Day 3 is kind of when you kick back and start to let the draft come to you. And as you see, Dre here is taking on the real day 3 mindset on the set. All right, Henry, we're gonna play like tennis here.
I like
back and forth, giving your favorites.
I'm taking Demetric Felton. Me and Dre are both in love with him.
It's a great call.
I like him a lot too.
He's so good. He's so good. You know when he wasn't good?
Against the Buffs.
Against the Buffs.
That's my favorite part about him.
I know. Outside of that, he was incredible. He plays slot receiver. He plays running back, receiving back. Just speedy guy.
Yeah.
Huge production. I think that you could hope that he is similar to Tyreek Hill. On top of that, I think you want him more in the backfield. I mean, that is the upside with somebody who runs that fast. We see him separate out of the burst.
Number 10?
He does wear number 10.
Confused by this?
I'm not confused, Ryan.
Could be the next Curtis Samuel if you're not.
See, now that feels a little better for me.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
You know, that's probably
realistic expectations.
What is his speed? Do we know?
Yeah, 4.6. Very disappointing.
It was disappointing, but it did not.
Take back everything you just said.
It doesn't disappoint me though. It doesn't disappoint me
that's
because
why
you
he
watch how
dropped.
fast he is. It just means he's no longer getting drafted in the second
That's
round.
why
It means he
We've-
cannot ever be compared to Tyreek Hill.
Just watch him play. Just watch him play is all I'm gonna say.
Another guy who ran slow would be really fun in the Broncos backfield. JARET Patterson out of Buffalo. We are Mac
love the
guys. Honestly, you get rid of Phillip Lindsay, a guy like this with the way he runs would fit quite seamlessly, and maybe they'd actually know how to use him and give him the ball a little more in the passing game since he's got that area of his game down, though. But such great vision, such great balance, explosiveness. He'd be really fun to see in a Broncos uniform.
Well, I'm going to stay in the MAC and pick my one favorite here, and that, of course, is Dwayne Eskridge, wide receiver out of Central Michigan.
Yeah.
And he's already a Bronco, so
Very true.
It's a seamless transition there. But I don't know, if they have any interest in adding to the wide receiver room. I don't know when Dwayne has a chance to go, but this is certainly a guy you're willing to take a risk on. The breakaway speed is there. The ball skills are there. Obviously, there's room to grow in the route running department, but this is a guy if you have it, to me, if you can add speed and explosion, athleticism to your team, this is the type of guy you want to take a flyer on as you get into those later rounds.
Another guy who ripped up the Senior Bowl. And, didn't last that long. I think only practiced the first day. But
Yes.
I think the reason for that was because he did not want to get back on that field after the great day that he'd had. He left such a great impression. But similar to Demetric Felton, just that burst. They can separate.
Yeah.
He's very bursty.
So much burst.
Very bursty, yes. Henry, do you want to rattle off 2 more for me? And
Yeah.
I will match you.
Perfect. I'll go with Oso Digizua, sticking with UCLA. Defensive
Good
lineman,
call.
another Senior Bowl guy who just...
One of your guys.
You watch Creed Humphrey, the center from Oklahoma, second-round pick. He's locking up everybody except Osa. Such a good week there. We've seen the production in the Pac-12. Again, not against the Buffs, but against everybody else. I think that as a late-round guy, somebody who seems to be slipping a little bit, that'd be a great option. And I'll throw one more in. Matt Bushman, the tight end from BYU, didn't play this season.
Okay.
So let that sink in. Didn't have the full Zach Wilson experience, but he's long, he's athletic, he catches a lot of balls. He can make some plays after the catch. I think he had 700 receiving yards last year with not the good Zach Wilson. I think that he's somebody who would have been a 5th, 6th round pick or 5th, 4th round pick if he'd played this year again. But because he didn't get to benefit off of Zach Wilson, he's going to be like a 7th rounder.
Kind of crazy that he's a receiving threat with that name. That definitely seems like a blocking tight end name.
And he has the blocking frame. He just doesn't do it. And if he started,
Maybe
then
that's
it'd be
coachable.
better. It may be.
I'm going to give you a couple edge rushers. One, Adetokumbo Ogundije out of Notre Dame. I think the guy has really significant upside.
He has Giannis's last name as his first name?
It's spelled different,
Okay.
but it sounds the same.
Right.
Or at least Dre says it the same.
Really good.
I feel like that's where the problem
Yeah,
is.
One or the other.
Dre's like, all right, how can I make this sound like something I can already say?
You might be onto me there. But no, I think the kid has really great upside, great length, great production, good motor, played really well at the Senior Bowl, lots of flashes for one of the top defenses in the country. he just got overlooked a little bit. I think there's still plenty of developmental talent here. And Ellerson Smith out of Northern Iowa, super long, kind of a poor man's Gregory Rousseau. If you can't get Rousseau early in the draft, you wait for Ellerson Smith on day 3, pack some weight on him, and I think the long defensive end out of Northern Iowa has a very intriguing future ahead of him.
Love it. Great stuff, boys. All right, that wraps it up for our DNVR Draft Day Live preview series, which means all that's left is, of course, DNVR Draft Day Live itself. If you didn't catch it last year, it was a hell of a lot of fun. We will be live on all 3 days of the draft talking about the Broncos moves. In person this time, probably right here. Really, really excited for that. So we'll see you guys on draft day.